What's going on, YouTube? I'm here to try to save you some money. Okay? A couple tips, tricks on what you can do while owning a boat. These boats, I don't care if you buy them off Craigslist for $2,000. I mean, $2,000, you're probably in a little bit of a money pit anyways for that boat. Or you buy a brand new boat. I don't care. There are certain things that every single boat owner should know. This is ocean boats, bass boats, you know, I mean, even just your rinkety dinky, you know, tin can that's out there. If you follow some of these tips here, you're going to save a little bit of money. So let's check it out. Okay. So you're getting off of the water, pulling up onto your trailer. Partner drives you around the corner onto, you know, a little parking lot, and your boat is now set. What's the first thing that you do? Everyone starts grabbing these guys, right? Start cleaning things up, armor all in the seats. You know, you go home later. I really need to do this to my boat. You'll see here in a second. You know, you're busting out your wax and your wash and all that. Hitting the screens with the graph screens with the Windex. That's all good, and you should be doing that. That's great. But there's a secondary step that should be done at least once a month. If you're riding hard, if you're a tournament fisherman, okay? You practice, you fish hard. I've never seen this done. Now, maybe it's because more than likely people might be doing this in the garage. But, you know, it is very important to bust these guys out. Okay? All the tools. All right? And you actually don't need a lot, but you gotta, the tools that are for your boat and the sizes, you should definitely have on your boat. I mean, I'm sure the majority of people have them, but you know, you should do one more check. You should make sure that all the sizes of wrenches and, you know, screwdrivers and everything are on your boat. We'll check this out. Let's go look at what's going on, and I'll explain why you should do this. All right, so I'll just paint a picture. I went out fishing 2 weekends in a row. A little windy. It was kind of crazy out on the Delta. Videos coming out for that. That'll be cool. Caught a lot of fish. Pretty sweet deal. But very windy, and going back to the ramp, I mean, the boat was slapping and all of this. I mean, it was crazy. It was just, you know, it felt like I was on Clear Lake, to be honest. But anyways, so the next weekend I go out and I'm fishing with my buddy, and one of these guys on my gauges, one of them actually popped off. And I can actually, if I wanted to, I can swing these guys around, these gauges around my finger. This one completely popped off. And I was trying to put it back on, and I couldn't put it back on, and I was wondering what the heck's going on. And so I fished the rest of the day just without the gauge. I put the gauge away, and when I got home, I wanted to put it back on. What I had to do was basically, Nitro is pretty cool. They have these shields here, windshields, that they come off with these little screws here. And when I got back there, you can access everything. All of your gauges, buttons, the graph, you know, everything, steering wheel, all that stuff. And you see all the brackets and stuff holding everything in screws. A few of those were loose, okay? And what happened was the bracket actually started to fall back into the cavity here. And when that happened, it actually kind of let the lip of the gauge fall off. So this fell, the white section here fell backwards, which was causing this to pop off. And I don't want to hear, oh, it's because you have a Nitro. I've owned 3 boats. Yes, 2 of them were Nitros. This just happens to anything, okay? This happened with my Ranger that I own, so, meh. Anyways, this Nitro boat, I'd buy a freaking other, my 4th boat would be a Nitro, okay? They're cool. Anyways, so I got to thinking, and I'm looking around, and I get into the cavity. I start tightening all the gauges up, and I'm like, well, let's do our walk around. Look at what the heck's going on. Behind your rub rails here, behind here, you have probably every foot or so, you have a little screw, okay? And what happens is when your boat is slapping up and down, okay? The boat's slapping and you're running, you're hauling around, even these screws in here will start to come loose. So I noticed that this was kind of pushed out a little bit. When I opened it up, there were about 6 screws all the way down, 6 screws or so that were pushed out. So I went in there, tightened those up with a screwdriver, tightened all the things up in here, and then I just started walking around, and you know, you notice that every single thing has a little screw on it. Everything. I tightened this up. I even came over here. All of these have little screws on them. You know, there's screws everywhere, holding brackets down, you know, holding this down here. You walk around here, bolts holding my steps up. You know, this was loose here. This was actually loose from probably slapping. And so I screwed these down here, came around here, did the same thing here. So, I mean, there's screws everywhere, man. You get into here, you start unscrewing these and making sure everything's fine, and then screw them back in, and yeah, the boat is filthy. I know, it's freaking. I just waxed it 3 weeks ago too. It sucks, but anyways, what you want to do is get yourself, you know, the perfect size wrenches and sockets and stuff for all of your needs. I mean, I can get in here with this guy and keep my steps from falling or sagging down, and you can see how much this is supposed to clear. It barely clears. That's what that's supposed to do. It's supposed to be designed to do that. And if this falls anymore, this won't be able to clear, you know, so you have to mess with that later. You know, it's all those little things. You know, keep a flathead on you too. Not a lot of flathead screws or anything on the boat, but you know, to put rub rails back in or to get access into the rub rails, you know, this will kind of pop things out. But basically the moral of the story is your boats get highly abused. Okay, you are driving these things all over the water. Water is unforgiving. It causes you to slap around. You take weird funky turns. I'm going to tell you, I don't care if you have a brand new Bass Cat, brand new Ranger, things come loose. Okay, you're not that safe out there. You gotta fix things. You gotta make sure things are done correctly and tighten things up. I mean, even the outboard, you know, the outboard's got a lot of stuff going on back there. Tighten things up, make sure things are nice and tight and secured. I'll just put you up here. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, the vast majority of stuff that break on your boat can probably be prevented by some preventive maintenance. You know, your rub rail comes undone, and you know, you don't mess around with the screws, and you keep fishing, and all of a sudden you start getting a lot of water into the hull, and the bilge has to run. You can burn the bilge pump out. You think that, you know, water's just kind of getting in there somehow, and you don't know, but you're being lazy and you're not checking things. You know, you can burn your bilge pump out by doing that. Like the trolling motor here, I mean, there are so many. There's a little gadget in there that I tightened up, that it's a little hydraulic gadget that if I didn't tighten it and it was wobbling around in there, and I keep lifting, finally it kind of catches and bends. Now what? You got to order a part from Minn Kota, or send it in, God forbid, and they got to do it all. So, you know, you're talking thousands of dollars that you can save by not just keeping the boat shiny. Go in there, you know, depending on how much you fish. If you fish, you know, I'm not talking about the guys who fish once a year. I mean, even then you want to once a year at least go in there and tighten stuff up. But, you know, if you're a hardcore fisherman, Like I fish a lot. I spend a ridiculous amount of time on the water. It's like, it's kind of crazy. You know, don't just clean it. Don't just wipe it down and put it away and go, oh, good girl, you're clean. More times than none, after every trip that you've gone on, something is a little loose now. Okay? Something is a little loose. There's a lot of screws and a lot of components to these types of boats. These things are ridiculous. So anyways, tighten things up, fish safe, and we'll see you out there on the water.